How does it feel that after all these years of waiting for Skaven as a longtime Skaven fan, that it finally comes and before you're even finished with your army, you know it's not going to be as good as mine? Like, that's got to suck.
Well, yeah, it's definitely a mental hurdle I have to overcome. I'll console myself with my best painted awards I have that I've won at most major tournaments in the country, where the best armies in the entire country go to, and I've managed to win out from.
Have you ever had a miniature painting project that just doesn't go the way you had hoped? Well, you're not alone, because I am dealing with that right now. I've taken a bit of time away from my Skaven army project, and I'm struggling to find motivation to get back to it. I've been painting models for Infinity and Kingdom Death, and those projects were super fun, so they're not to blame. Games Workshop has also showcased some of the new Skaven models coming out that look way cooler than the ones that I've built up on my hobby desk, and those new models have me pumped, especially since they look like they'll be better in my army than the many dorks that I'm painting for this spearhead. But no, new models aren't to blame either. No, the blame falls on one man, and it's not me. It's this man, Vincent Vincerella. You see, Vincey V and I have a friendly little competition going on to see who can paint the best Skaven army. And after seeing some of his recent videos and the quality of the Skaven that he's painting, well, I feel like I could take a little bit of a break without much worry. Now, before you get all worked up, Vince and I are longtime friends, and we enjoy giving each other a hard time now and again. And don't worry, there's going to be plenty of trash talk throughout this video. All right, Vince has had enough of a head start. Let's dig into the centerpiece of my Skaven Spearhead Force, the Claw Lord on Gnawbeast. And I thought it would be a good excuse to peel back the curtain a bit and allow you to see the kinds of things Vince and I talk about during our regular painting hangouts on Discord. But before we dig into that super secret smack talk footage, I wanted to break down my plan of attack for this model. Like the entire army, I am trying to push vibrant saturation from the shadows and up. This means I can't start too boring or too dark. For the Gnawbeast, I wanted to go an entirely different direction than the rich, warm shadows across all the other Skaven skin, as this beast looks almost undead with bare patches of its flesh and zombie-like face. Large sections of beast flesh can get a little bit boring if you just use one color, so I decided to blend in a nice vibrant purple on select areas of the beast. It seems to me like these stretched skin folds and some more of the irritated looking areas around the flesh would be great for this. Because this is just the shadows, nothing here needs to be super smooth. I'm just enjoying using a big brush to push pigment around. One slick trick you can use to make this blending go quickly is to use a very basic loaded brush technique. You'll see I have the blue paint in the belly of the brush, and then I dip the tip of the brush into the purple. As I paint the model, the purple will mix with that blue right on the brush and give us a nice gradual blend of the colors right on the model. A large model with a large brush is the ideal time to mess around with techniques like this. You just need to get a feel for the placing of that first color on the tip of your brush, then gently sweeping the brush back and forth across the model to get that color transition in real time. Now, some of you have probably already noticed that I'm using some suspicious unlabeled paint pots for the majority of today's work. Pay no mind to that. I'm simply going through my testing phase of trying out this brand new paint range, and I'm going to let you know my final results in a future video. You know, come to think of it, there's probably enough evidence in this video for some of you to determine exactly what this paint range is. I'm sure you'll put it down in the comments. I hope the company's not mad at me for that, but whoops. Now I want to keep the mid-tone for this flesh as unique as I did with the shadow, and since this thing totally looks like a chupacabra to me, I'm going to go with a sickly green mid-tone that'll eventually boost up to a pure pale undead flesh. I'm sure you're all excited to hear my homebrew lore reasons for why this flesh is green, so let's get right to it. Okay, this thing has some large chunks of warpstone wedged deep into its flesh, which I imagine is what made it grow to this massive gangly size instead of it just being a little baby rat. But like all prescription drugs, you may experience side effects, and I assume warpstone functions very similarly to uranium due to the melted nose and skin that's peeling off like a fruit roll-up on this thing. I mean, that's it. Basic warpstone poisoning backed by science. That's why I've nicknamed this Gnawbeast Madame Curie. And this Gnawbeast is quite large as far as Warhammer models go, so it's going to take me some time to paint. That seems like as good a reason as any to give old Vincey V a call and remind him that he sucks.
Oh, hi, John.
Oh, hi, Vince. What are you doing today?
Painting Skaven. A thing you haven't been doing enough of recently, as I'm to understand.
I've been... why does this giant rat have an earring? The Gnawbeast itself has an earring. You probably didn't notice that because you don't really paint details, but it does have an earring. I've been painting other games lately. I've been painting some Infinity and some Kingdom Death and...
Yes, I noticed you've been painting anything except Skaven. I caught it, yeah.
I mean, I've still been working, my way one clan rat at a time in my spare time.
So where I'm at, for your audience, okay, is I have 10 clan rats, so congratulations, you're beating me there. I have a Warlock Bombardier. Wasn't in the new box set, but I did paint him up.
Yeah, that's cheating. That was way before this even started, so that doesn't count. But okay, go ahead.
I mean, he's in my new color scheme and in the new army. I think it counts.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not my fault that I was a better planner than you. I have 3 Rat Ogres done. So my unit of Rat Ogres. And I have my Skaven Warp Blaster, the new war machine.
I saw a video on that.
You were one of the few people then.
That thing...
No, I love that thing.
Thing's not in the spearhead because I'm not excited to paint that.
Oh, you should be. I got rid of the little guys on the sides and it was way more fun.
Oh, okay. So that's your trick, is to just take half the models off. And
by the way, this is the life of YouTube miniature painters.
Yeah.
When we're not directly talking to camera, is just wearing goggles, sitting over hunched, and working on a figure like this quietly. John, you ever been to a Warhammer tournament?
I've been to a couple local ones. There was a good 8-10 of us there. It was a good time.
Sure. That's like me asking if you've been to a Magic tournament and you're like, yeah, I went to Friday Night Magic. Oh, okay.
All right, I'm back for just a minute because there's a couple of steps I'm working through right now that I think really helped the final look of the model, and I wanted to walk you through them. You'll notice that we've highlighted all the way up to a sickly pale greenish tan for the brightest highlights. And even though I've added color variation across the face and other purple areas, I bring those colors together with this final very similarly colored highlight. Now, I do think that this Gnawbeast looks a little bit too much like he's sour apple flavored at this point, so we need to bring some warmth into him to give the impression that blood is flowing underneath that fur. I thinned down a lovely rich red to a glaze consistency, and I'm using about 4 to 5 parts distilled water to 1 part paint here. I throw this around his knuckles, the deeper details of the face, the edges of the nasty skin folds, and random recesses like around some of the sculpted fur. Today's video is brought to us by Milanote, a great tool for all sorts of creative projects that you might have, and it's been the tool that's allowed my Skaven army project run much more smoothly than any other big Warhammer project I've done before. Milanote is a super easy to use software with a bunch of super helpful templates for all sorts of projects, both personal and professional. It allows you to collect notes, images, videos, tasks, and more all in one place. I've personally used their mood board templates quite a bit. It helps me a lot in pulling in the color schemes I want for a project and grabbing inspirational artwork for me to reference as I'm working my way through it. When I started this project, I opened up my Milanote boards for all of you to take a look at because it's a very collaborative software. I wanted you to see my color recipes and the step-by-step process of how I paint each aspect of my Skaven. But I noticed something interesting. Some of you left useful comments on the boards, and that got me thinking. How else can I use your superior brain power to help me with my Skaven army? Why, that would be coming up with good army lists. So why don't I create another board where you can comment with links to army lists you like, ones you've tried that have worked well, articles that talk about Skaven tactics, and videos that share strategies. So I'll take your ideas and I'll build out this new board so we can all have access to a bunch of strategies for Skaven army building and different kinds of lists, all in one place. And if you want to spend very little time to make your creative projects that much more successful, be sure to check out the link in the video description to try out Milanote for free with no time limit. That's right, my viewers get to use Milanote for free as long as you want because they're really proud of what they've created and they know you're going to love it. Now, it can be difficult to restrain yourself from going overboard in steps like these because it makes such an impactful change that's really satisfying really quickly. But what I do is just place a little bit of these across a few places on the model, and then I take a step back and look. If you keep adding bit by bit and then reevaluating, you're much less likely to go overboard and then realize it when it's too late.
Are you going to make a video on cake decorating then?
You know it. That's right. I've got it all recorded. Yeah.
That was a joke, but apparently I was silly for thinking you weren't going to do.
You assumed that I would paint 2 whole cakes and not make content out of it? John, you know what life we lead.
You know, I will say that it shames me to claim that I've actually learned something from you over the years, Vince, but I will say that I have grown to learn and respect your ability to find anything that you're already excited to work on, a project you want to do, and just making that a fun, interesting video. So I'm going to do that more in the future, but they're going to be good videos. But other than that...
Well, that will set you apart from me for sure.
Yeah. But other than that, there's basically going to be the same thing. I'm basically stealing your whole MO. And speaking of that, I just had my birthday yesterday.
You did, yeah. I was going to tell you happy birthday.
No. I mean, don't go out of your way, but now that we're here, you might as well.
Well, I was going to tell you when we joined, and then I wasn't going to do it as part of the video, but then I forgot because we got talking about other things. I meant to say earlier, happy birthday. I'm very happy for you.
Something I did for this project that I've never done for a gaming model before is completely build the rider and the mount, but just not glue them together. This way I can paint them and get all the hard to reach areas before finally assembling them. Now, my army has 3 regalia colors, and I like the idea of the higher ranking rats wearing more of the vibrant red. It works doubly well in this situation as the red cloak will contrast really well with the pale green of the Gnawbeast's hide. I follow the areas not hit by the white zenithal prime to sketch in dark brown shadows, and then I just came in with our pure red paint. It's easier to start with the shadows and then cover up any mistakes with the red. That way I'm not having to waste time by being perfect in every single hard to reach shadowed area. Now obviously I'm painting this Claw Lord on Gnawbeast for my army, but I'm not using any of the paints that I've used for the rest of the army. I was curious to see how much difference that would actually make. And while the topic is worthy of a video all to its own, I will say this. You'll be surprised how little you can tell using one paint brand and using another, and they still look like they're in the same army. So moral of the story is, if you wanted to try out a new paint range or you wanted to tweak a recipe mid-project, just do it.
So. Well, I am nothing if not the schooling that you unfortunately likely missed out on. So, yeah. I'm here to help.
So you're painting Guy with Spyglass today.
Guy with Spyglass, yes, correct.
I should almost start painting mine just to make you second guess every brush stroke.
It really doesn't bother me. It would only motivate me. See, you remember, John, that we all got together and did this sort of experiment.
We did.
You, I, Sam, we got together and said, let's all paint the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Do you remember this event?
I remember it. Yep.
And at that event, you spent about, I'm going to say 20 minutes painting the same thing that Sam and I were painting.
I didn't want you guys to feel bad,
No, I appreciate that. And then you spent the rest of the time working on one tiny little guy. Now, in the end, do I think you used that time correctly? Probably. It did win you a golden demon, so you're welcome.
Yeah, they didn't give me an option for an acceptance speech. I did have you named in there when you were the jerk and said that I couldn't paint this army better than you. That I just knew that we were both going to paint a better army than if we hadn't done it this way.
100%. Which one of us is the bully in the 80s ski movie here? Who is the Johnny Lawrence, right, of the two of us?
Oh.
And who is the Daniel LaRusso?
I don't think either of us wants to be Danny LaRusso in this. That's the problem, right? Do you want to be Danny? I'll let you be Danny. I'll sweep the leg. I don't give a shit.
I just want to be the guy over on the side who yells, "Put him in a body bag." I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Can I be that guy?
So then I can
I
move
agree.
on.
You should definitely paint quicker. If I was you, I would really just, I would just compromise on quality everywhere I could, John. That seems like the logical thing you should be doing.
You know, if this was coming from any other source, I'd give it some sincere thought. But
You saying I might be biased here?
yeah, I feel like you're trying to find any edge possible to stand a chance here.
It is funny to me how different we're both interpreting this project.
I actually think we're putting a similar amount of time per model in. And it's just really interesting for me to see where that time is going.
Sure.
Because I look at yours and, you know, I mean, I feel a little bad, but, you know, I don't feel that bad. But I'm like, oh, yeah, I can see that aspect of his model is really good. He put more time into that and it looks better than mine. But when I look at the whole model, I'm like, oh, man, Vince, what are you doing? Well, Vince, I've about had enough talking to you for one day, so we should probably do this again sometime, I guess.
I agree. I'm basically done. My little boy is basically ready to go. That's one more, baby.
One more. 79 more to go.
So many more. Endlessly more. It was good hanging out, John. We'll talk again.
All right. Take care of yourself, Vince.
You know, I'd like to say I had a great time in that hangout and painting with Vince, but I don't lie to my audience. But seriously, Vince is a gem. If you haven't checked out his channel yet, please do so and make sure you subscribe. I'll put a link down there below. You'll be a better painter for having done so. And as much as we love to razz each other and talk smack about this friendly painting competition we have going on, it is a 100% positive thing to work through an army project with a friend. I know my army's going to turn out better because I have Vince pushing me and painting along with me in our chats like today. If you haven't tried it before, I strongly encourage you to do a virtual hobby hangout while you're sitting down and painting your models. I find it makes the time just fly by, and it's great to talk through any struggles you're dealing with on a model and ask advice from your fellow painter. If you don't know anyone to hang out with and paint, don't worry, you're not alone. Consider joining a painting Discord channel like mine, which you get access to by becoming a patron to the Ninjon channel. See what I did there? We've got some fun Patreon perks for your support of keeping this channel running, like voice chat channels on the Discord and access to my weekly video vlogs. You know, I've got a Spearhead tournament coming up in a couple weeks I want this army painted for, and I'm also going to Vince's house in October for the annual VinceyCon, where a handful of us paint and game for a long weekend, and I need to get my Spearhead finished by then. So I need to keep chipping away at this force in order to get it ready to face Vince on the table. And you know, that gets me thinking, do you think that there's any value for me to create a video based on the painting and gaming that happens at VinceyCon? That way you can judge for yourself who has the best painted rodent army. Let me know down in the comments, and if there's anything specific about that trip you think would be valuable to make a video about. I'll be back next week with another new video, this time about something I was hoping and praying would come to fruition, and it actually has. So sometime between now and then, make sure you find time in your day to slay the gray.